Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of Carson of Venus, Pirates of Venus, a two-part miniseries by American Mythology adapting the 1934 novel by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And Burroughs did a series of novels in the 1930s about a fictional version of Venus that a Earthman gets stranded on and has adventures in. And so if Burroughs sounds familiar to you, that's probably because he created Tarzan and did 20-some novels of Tarzan of the Apes. And he also did John Carter. He created John Carter and did a series of novels based on his adventures on Mars. And so John Carter and Tarzan have had their share of comics over the years. Carson of Venus, not so much. So Carson of Venus had some backup stories in DC Comics Tarzan titles, and then he also had a 4-issue team up with Tarzan back in the late 90s when Dark Horse was doing actual Tarzan comics that were on the shelf. So he did not actually have a full comic devoted just to Carson of Venus with his name on it until last year when American Mythology did this one-shot of Carson of Venus, and this was part of their Fear on Four Worlds 4-part event, and I'll do a separate review of that and of other American Mythology's Burroughs comics because they have the lesser-known Burroughs properties and they're creating kind of a shared universe out of those, and so I'll do some other videos on that. But right now what I want to talk about is Pirates of Venus. And so this is the first ongoing, or actually not ongoing, monthly Carson of Venus comic. This is a 2-part miniseries, and this is the first issue. It's written by Wein, drawn by Mike Kaluta. Wein is best known for co-creating the new X-Men, you know, the lineup that had Wolverine and Storm and all those, and also co-creating Swamp Thing. And Mike Kaluta is, well, you'll see, he's a great artist. He did a lot of stuff in the 70s. That's when his heyday was, but just a really good fantasy style artist. He kind of reminds me of like a dirtier version of P. Craig Russell. And so this is a brand new cover that was done by Mike Kaluta. He's in his 70s, but he still knows how to churn some stuff out. So this is like a beautifully detailed, wonderfully rendered cover. And if you'll notice on the spider, it looks, from a distance, it looks like just a giant spider. But if you look closer, it's got this like elongated snout coming out, kind of like similar to that thing that comes out of a xenomorph's mouth. So it's real nightmare food. and there's also this wonderful, wonderfully rendered creatures on the sides as well. It's a really nice, unique cover that just kind of pops out at you. And there is also a wonderful cover for the second issue as well, brand new by Mike Kaluta. And the creatures on Venus tend to be weird. They tend to be kind of almost indescribable sometimes, and you know, just kind of make your skin crawl when you look at them. So it's just this really exotic, wild, you know, the colors are always crazy on Venus, you know, the way Burroughs writes it. So really cool covers. And so when you open up that first issue, you are going to get a little text piece here, and this is going to tell you, you know, the story behind this comic and, you know, what they're reprinting. And I find that very handy. I don't necessarily like having to like look stuff up on Wikipedia. So it's really nice to just have this right here. You know, I don't have to look up an article. I don't have to Google it. You know, this is telling me what it is, and each issue will tell you the comics that it's reprinting if you want to get them. It's Korak, Son of Tarzan, 46 through 53 is where these backup stories ran. And as you can see, You've got some really nicely rendered artwork from Mike Kaluta here. So he does, again, it kind of has a lot of sensibilities that I would associate with P. Craig Russell, but it's, it's a little sketchier, a little less clean art style, but it's very nice. I like it. And again, the freakishness of the monsters as you meet on Venus. I mean, just make your skin crawl. Like, what is this thing? And so it's really well drawn. And so that's one of the good things about it. The positives: A, the artwork. B, the story is the introduction of Carson of Venus, so you get to see his origin and get to see the beginnings of this world that Edgar Rice Burroughs crafted on Venus called Amtor. That's what the Venus natives call their planet. And so those are really cool. And the fact it's 2 issues and you can get the entire novel adaptation is pretty cool too. Now, the detractors are, first of all, it's not necessarily Burroughs' strongest work. Now, not having read the novel itself and just reading this adaptation and the summary I found online, it's kind of hard to judge, but I would say that this is not quite as strong as his beginnings on John Carter and Tarzan. That being said, it is a novel that is definitely meant for you to go and get the rest of the story, to get the other novels. And there is a comic adaptation that was done by DC Comics. Mike Kaluta drew that one as well, that ran as backup stories. And hopefully American Mythology will reprint the next adaptation as well. I would think it wouldn't take that many issues, maybe 1 or 2, just judging from how many issues it ran in. So hopefully that'll be coming as well, because you're definitely, if you enjoy what you've read, you're definitely going to want to see where it goes. And another detractor is that there are some changes that get made to this story. It's very compressed. These are, just a few pages that ran in the back of these comics. So it's very compressed and there are changes made, and especially the ending was, let's put it this way, it's far more anticlimactic than the novel. The novel, I actually read a summary online, and it has a very dramatic, heart-wrenching cliffhanger. And it was, I would imagine it would probably be one of the best parts of the novel, and I don't know why they took it out. It is completely different. I don't know why that happened. I do know that a curious thing happens on the last few chapters that are reprinted here, where Lin Wen's name drops off, and it says Mike Kaluta started to actually write those adaptations as well. He started writing those chapters. So I'm not sure if there's some behind the scenes stuff that kind of made it get cut short, or, they had to cut corners when they were adapting it. So one detractor for this miniseries is that the reprint unfortunately really fades out the color. It almost just bleaches it out, and it makes the artwork pop less. It makes it a little harder to read. And it's just unfortunate. This will give you an idea what the actual original colors actually look like. You'll notice that the art just pops up a lot more, and you can actually tell, the kind of the trees and the stuff in the background a little bit better, because they're actually color. You can actually see the colors that were used on them. So overall, this is not a perfect reprint. This is not a perfect adaptation, but I still think it's well worth your $8 to pick up these 2 issues. For $8, you get an entire adaptation of an Edgar Rice Burroughs novel. You get to see the beginnings of Carson of Venus. And so if you have any interest in like Mike Kaluta or Carson of Venus, Edgar Rice Burroughs, or just this genre in general, I highly recommend picking this up. I think it's well worth the $8. I just hope for future reprints they fix that issue they had with the coloring where it was coming out faded. But my next review is actually going to be of another Carson of Venus miniseries that's currently out. Yes, we have gone from no Carson of Venus stories in their own comic books for, 70, 80 some years to actually two at one time. And so there is actually a brand new story being produced by American Mythology called Carson of Venus, The Flames Beyond, and I'll be taking a look at that and seeing if it lives up to the old stuff. So like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, I'll see ya.